This is a Blairing Out with Eric Blair show, and today I'm here with September of September Mourning. How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you, Eric?
I'm excellent. What was your life like growing up in New York, and did you feel loved?
Do we ever all feel loved, Eric? No. Yeah, of course. Being loved is such a, I don't know, that's such a general terminology of like growing up. I mean, there's different ways to be loved, I guess, in family and friends, and different types of love from family and friends. I mean, in general, the love of theater and art and music and ballet and stage performance came at a very early age for me. At age 4, I was on stage. So for me, love was associated a lot with like an audience participation. That was my form of really relating to people, was through theater and stage and performance and different things like that. So my parents, my mom and my dad really saw that in me at a very young age and definitely helped, develop that as much as they could in their capacity.
The love you got from your parents was based on the performance that you did on stage?
I think all artists, and generally like most of my idols, the ones that I hold really deep in my heart, probably had a rough childhood. Okay. And not saying mine was easy at all. I had a rough childhood. I came from a separated home, and there were a lot of weird things that happened in my childhood, and I was surrounded with a lot of death. There were, a lot of things that happened to me when I was really young. So yes, my childhood was reflected in my stage performance. Maybe not the happy-go-lucky childhood, because I never had that, but yes.
Now, looking back at this point in your life, considering what you're achieving, don't you think that built you into the machine that you are today?
Of course. I mean, I think that it's very true. I guess what psychiatrists and psychologists say is that the principal foundation of your character is built when you are very young. And I think that is your work ethic, your character, your moral exterior, interior. It's all built when you're a very young child, and mine was built then, and it's very much reflected in how I perform and what I do on stage, and how I even treat this project.
What was your motivation in creating the transmedia experience September Mourning?
Well, I think that coming into a new dawn of the music era and music business, with the internet and what it provided to musicians and what it provided to the scope of a project, that kind of helped me form an opinion on how I wanted to do a project. So when I started September Mourning, I looked at what was going on. You had the internet, you had a way to actually bring a whole storyline through so many different avenues and presentations and fill it out and make it like this one whole unit and then present it, instead of having to like really focus on one thing because you only have one way of presenting it. And the internet like allowed you to do that. So for me, doing something transmedia became something that was very, was just the norm. Like that's what I would think that you would do. And we developed a storyline. It's something I've always wanted to do, is do something that was very theatrical and very, presented like that. Developing a storyline, developing the characters with Marc Silvestri, like sitting there, like writing it, coming up with all of the different avenues and ways we can take these characters and their stories. It was really interesting. And then bringing it to the stage and bringing it through the music and bringing it through the theatrics and the costumes and this and that. It just became this whole like ball of wax, which was really cool.
So do you feel that your motivation was self-serving, or do you feel like you had a desire to help others through the September Mourning story?
Well, I think that as an artist, I mean, there's a little bit of both. You want to do something that inspires yourself to do it again and again and again and make more art, but you also want to do something, for me anyway, I wanted to send a message. I think art is a message in itself. I don't think you can get away with that. You can't just be an artist and have nothing to say. That to me is just, I think that the world itself grows definitely by technology and the new this and the new that and the new, but our artists, we were there to push forward on the emotional scale of mankind. And like that in itself helps the world develop. And for me, having a message and pushing the boundaries of that message and really putting it out there was very important.
How would you define the word love?
For me, I mean, there's different types of love. There's love I love music. I love performing. I love art. I love theater. You know, there's certain people in my life that I love in certain different ways. You know, love is such a grandiose word. It's very hard to compartmentalize it and stick it in a box.
How does Emily Lazar's personality and conscience differ from that of your alter ego, September?
I think September takes facets of my personality and magnifies them and makes them over the top. And I think that's what she is. She's a bunch of different facets of my personality.
You think she has a different conscience than you?
I think that she's very much a part of me and things that I would do if I were in her situation. Probably the same sort of thing. I try to save humanity. I try to save the world. I try, you know, I have this supernatural part of myself. I can't really be killed, kinda, sorta, not gonna give anything away. But there's pieces of me that are, you know, undeniably strong. And like to use that power, with great power comes great responsibility, Spider-Man, you know? So it's kind of that thing.
So what is your secret to not becoming a casualty of sex, drugs, and rock and roll?
Well, I'm sober and clean, so I will never do drugs. And I've made a promise to myself never to do that. And I don't drink. I think that for me, it's really like, for me, rock and roll isn't defined by how many groupies you have on the bus. It's not, you know, I think that that sort of look and feel of it is good for certain people. And I think for me, it's more like, yes, there's sex involved in rock and roll. Everything should be sexy because we live in a world that's driven by sex. I think that there's a part of me that enjoys that sexuality on stage and even in costumes and in photo shoots and deploying that part of myself. But it's not going to be the main driving force. The main driving force, I think, of all rock has always been the message. Now, if that message is sex, great, then go with it. But for me, it's not sex. That message is something totally different.
Living person do you most admire?
The living person that I would most admire would be probably that fan that's out there that's trying his or her hardest to, you know, get over the bullying or get over the internal demons that are plaguing themselves and pushing forward every day and like not succumbing to those things. That's my hero. I think that's everybody's hero. How
did you meet and start working with comic book mogul, Top Cow CEO Marc Silvestri, known for his work with Marvel's The Uncanny X-Men and Wolverine comics, among other many things that he's done and achieved?
Marc is amazing. I was lucky enough to meet him online by messaging him about this project. I said, hey, I have a crazy idea. And, you know, we got to talking about it. I told him about the transmedia aspect, how I wanted to combine comics and music in a way that's never been done before. And he said, hey, I like doing things that are out of the box. And he's very well known for that. And that's how we started talking, you know, and it just grew from there. The relationship grew, the storyline grew, and now we're where we are with it.
It just kind of blows my mind to think that out of all the millions and billions of people that wish they could get a second with that individual, that you were able to enchant him enough to want to work with you. What is your secret?
I have no idea. I'm just who I am, you know. Some people may call it star quality. Some people may call it, like, you know, magnetism. Some people think that, oh, she's just fun to be around, you know. I mean, it's just, I think it just, when it clicks with somebody, it clicks, you know. We all know that in life. If you have a relationship with somebody and, you know, you're in the right relationship, it just works. It just, you're together. Yeah. And then if you're not, you're not. So, I mean, with Marc, it just worked, you know. We were kind of, you know, it's weird with Marc because when I first met him and when we first sat down to a dinner, it was like a 6-hour-long dinner, like talking about everything. And it was like, I've known this person for my whole entire life, but I've never met him. And I think when you find people like that in life, it's so important to keep them around.
What is the religion in the world of mortem, and why does mortem exist?
I don't know about religion. I don't think I tend to stay away from religious aspects in this comic book. But, you know, just Mortem is another realm, basically. It's a place, I mean, if you want to get into a religious code or context about it, the only thing I could compare it to would be purgatory, per se. But it's a place where souls go before they pass on to where they're supposed to be, or before their energy is dissipated. I like to, you know, see things in terms of energy, and like realms in terms of energy. And it's this place of dark matter and this place of that type of energy. And, you know, it's a place where September isn't recognized, because it's all, everybody that moves there is of the same dark matter and the same energy. So it's very hard to, like, when she's in the human world, fate being personified in this point, fate can pinpoint her and beacon in on her and send reapers after her. But when she's in Mortem, it's like, you can't do that because you can't find her, because she's part of this elementary sort of energy, you know, so you can't pinpoint it. So for her, it's a safe haven. It's a place where she can hide. She can take the souls that she reaps in the real world and bring them into Mortem and hide them there and protect them. So that's what Mortem is for her.
The Blairing Out Show.